This is Dharma Drops with your host, Rebecca Warfield. This podcast is a little bit about yoga, a little bit about life, and a little bit about whatever. And just as a warning, this podcast is unscripted, so that means I might regret a few things that I say. But hey, maybe I'll say some pretty awesome stuff too. Remember, these are musings, not truths. Buckle up, giddy up, because here we go. Oh, well, hey there, Dharma Drops listeners. This is your host, Rebecca Warfield, and I am here today with, I think, who might be my new best friend, Jackie DeConti, co-founder of Terra Soul in Wilmington, North Carolina, and she is also, as she said, a lover of many things. What's going on, Jackie?
Hi, glad to be here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me in your beautiful home.
Yeah, thank you.
We were just talking before we started recording about how we don't really know each other, but we feel like we found our new BFFs.
Yes, absolutely.
We've been talking for 15 minutes before we even started recording about everything?
Yeah.
Awesome. This is so good. And so the one thing we were just talking about, which is probably more important than anything we're going to cover during the entire episode, is Game of Thrones.
Oh my gosh.
So, okay, you haven't finished the season, or the last season yet. What'd you say you're on? What season? 6?
So the season before the last season, so season 6.
Oh my God.
It's quite the addictive show. I've been watching it for hours and hours for the past month, it feels like.
So when did you start watching it?
Oh gosh. I don't know. Maybe a month ago, honestly.
That's a lot of stuff to take in a month.
And there's moments where I'm like, I'm done. I'm not watching this anymore. I have stuff to do. And then it just draws you in, you know?
It does draw you in.
Yeah.
So I posted on Facebook a few weeks ago when the last season came out that I don't like Game of Thrones. And it was partially me trolling. I mentioned this in a recent episode with Jane, that it's like partially me internet trolling because I think it's really funny to watch people get wound up about these things.
Yes.
But I feel like I ebb and flow with my taste for Game of Thrones all the time. In the beginning, I was captivated. But then I got a little I don't know, there's all this I felt like exploitation of women and their sexuality for the male gaze. It didn't seem to contribute to the storyline or the story arc that much. And so then I hated it. But then I know you're not there yet, so I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But everyone hated the last season. Look, people, it was the best season.
Oh,
I think it was the best season, and here's why. Because it shifted from this story, from having this emotional story, to this more ethereal, emotional connection with the characters. And I felt like rather than being uncertain about what was going to happen in the plot, I was uncertain how I felt about the characters.
Whoa.
I was like, okay, do I love them or do I hate them? Are they making good decisions or are they making bad decisions? I don't care what anyone says on that stupid petition going around. It was the best season.
That was a good, non-spoiler spoiler. You know?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it was good.
I feel good about my commitment to the rest of the show.
I feel like the whole world was wrong about the end of Game of Thrones, and I was right.
Yes. Now, do you think there'll be a prequel?
Oh, I don't know. I never thought about that.
Talking about the stories of the characters before we met them.
I don't know. I never even thought about it.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We should probably all see a little more of Kit Harington. Yeah.
Who's that?
Jon Snow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we should probably all see a little more of him in our lives. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I'm still learning the names of the people, and I actually refer to them as who they remind me of my friends. And so,
oh my God, that's amazing.
And then one guy that looks like, to me, he looks like John Mayer, so I call him John Mayer. Do you know who I'm
They're probably
about?
Kit Harington, maybe.
The real mean guy.
There's so many of them.
I know.
I don't know. Is it the one with the dogs?
Yes.
I don't know his name. That's the other thing about Game of Thrones,
right.
is that it's so complicated and people come and go so quickly that I never feel attached to them, and that's why at the end I feel like again, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's just this group of people by the end that you're like, okay, I know these people and here's what I want for them. And then you question wait, is that the right decision? I don't know. I don't care, people. It was really good.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so if you could be any Game of Thrones character, who would you be?
Oh man. Because you know what's going to happen to them, so this is a difficult question to answer.
I mean, just pretend I don't know.
The fate that happens. I love Arya from the start. I think that
Arya's my fave.
From the start, I was like, I like this girl. She's just powerful. But there's a part of me that really loves Khaleesi, or whatever her other name.
Daenerys.
Mm-hmm. I just love how sure she is of herself and of her, you know, like she just has these boundaries that she sets, and she's her world is almost like a Star Wars / like Greek world that seems really magical. So, what about you?
I really love Arya Stark.
Yeah.
A lot. I do. I just like her character arc, and I just like her intensity with things, for sure. But, you know, I'd also like a good old-fashioned comic relief, and I don't know his name, but the redheaded guy, the wildling, do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know his name. I like him, too, just because he's a good character. He, like, brings it down a notch.
He likes the blonde girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone listening to this podcast right now is probably like, guys.
Just fast forward if you don't
their names, yeah. There's this thing called sorry, I'm chewing a ginger candy. There's this thing called a 15-second forward button that you get to hit as much as you want until if you don't sick of hearing us talking about this shit. But we probably should move on a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
I'm chewing a ginger candy here, and I had a few people ask me to talk about my experience getting seasick on vacation, and I had mentioned it to you, and you said you get a little motion sickness.
Yes, I can relate.
It's the worst. So Aaron and I went on vacation to South Florida, and we took a ferry to Grand Bahama Island.
Nice.
And no, not nice. It was terrible. That motherfucking boat rocked so hard. We weren't even a mile out of the port yet, and I was on my phone looking for a plane ticket to fly home because I was not getting back on that thing. So finally, I was like, I got to get out of here. And Aaron was feeling really sick too. So we went up to the top to be outside, and Aaron was like, I think I'm going to throw up. And so he had this seasickness bag, and he opened it, and he started to vomit in it, but it had a hole in the bottom. And this is like from some movie, and it started to come out the bottom, and he was panicking. I was like, go to the trash can. But the trash can had a step thing, and he was panicking, and he was like trying to yank this trash can open. And I always tell Aaron if he fo fums, because he's just like an animal sometimes, like tearing through things. He's like trying to rip the lid of this trash can off, and he couldn't get it. And I'm like taking it off, and all these people are watching, and then he's like hurling in this trash can. No bag in the trash can. It was terrible. So finally he felt better, but then we were both sick for the rest of our vacations.
It's hard to shake it.
Do you get seasickness motion sickness for a long time?
Yeah, I have a quick story after your story about
No, tell me now.
So that happened to me, but on a really small plane with a bunch of really great yogis that we went on a retreat to Costa Rica.
No.
And we almost probably could have died. We all handled this in a different way.
That's yoga.
I was motion sick. There were other people on the plane that were like really comfortable with it. It was fun for them, but you know, it's like the girl next to me was talking about like
was it just
favorite
turbulence?
Enchilada recipe, and I was
gross.
like, I just can't even think about this right now.
Wait, was it like turbulence?
It was turbulence, but in a major roller coaster sort of way. And then a couple years later, I learned that airline had gone out of business because they crashed into a mountain. So
oh my God.
It was a legit fear. But we all survived, and it was a really cool group of people, and so we all kind of were like, there's no way that all of us are going to, like, this is just going to be the end. It was like we were going to be on Lost or something, you know?
My God, that is terrible. So, especially being sick on a plane is the worst.
Because you can't open a window or get out, you know?
I got sick on an airplane once because before I caught my flight, I ate some leftovers from my fridge, and I had like this little red lentil patty that I made that are delicious with avocado, but I must have been just a little too old. And I had food poisoning on the airplane, and it was not an exciting time.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible. And I was flying across the country, so I was like, 6 hours or something from the East Coast to the West Coast?
Right.
It was a really, really long 6 hours.
So these ginger chews help you?
Yeah, do you want one? I'm having some gingers.
I'm okay now, but thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to open another one. Sorry if you hear the wrapper on the recording, but that's just what happens when you eat candy.
They were right.
Well, I was rocking back and forth still. That had like rocking vertigo for 5-6 days, and so it didn't ruin our trip, but it definitely changed it a little bit. I never actually got sick, but I was rocking endlessly. Yeah. But the cool thing is that because we weren't able to really do much when we got into Grand Bahama Island, we ended up meeting this group of part-time expats that were all retired, and they're older. I mean, like, they could be our grandparents, kind of older, and they were probably the most fun people I've ever hung out with in my life.
Cool.
And this older guy, Kurt, he was like, y'all want some weed? And we were like, no, we don't smoke, man. And this little old lady was like, I'll take it. And she took I'm saying my little old lady, she's like in her maybe mid to late 70s.
Aww.
And she's also diagnosed with COPD. So she should not be smoking anything probably.
Yeah.
No, she took that weed and I talked to her the next day via Facebook Messenger and she said she got high as a kite.
Whoa.
It's
like, this was in the Bahamas?
Yes.
Oh,
and I was like, okay, Erin, we're losers. I'm all like, it's 9:30. I should probably go to bed. Yeah. It's like little retired lady is like taking this weed and getting high. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Okay, so other than Game of Thrones, motion sickness, and how retired people are way cooler than me, we're here to talk about all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So we had exchanged a few emails, and you talked a little bit in an email about how a good topic that you thought you might want to cover is sort of some stuff that's happening in your life about maybe like having ideas, but then letting them go. Yeah. Can you share with us a little bit about what's happening in that part of your life?
Sure. Yeah. So I was thinking about this because I always think it's good to share while you're going through something, but it's even more powerful to share once it's happened and you've kind of been able to look back and reflect. Mm-hmm. So one of the things is kind of how Terra Soul came to be, which is an incredible story to think about because it really started in 2009 when I lived in Atlanta. And
is that where you're from?
No, I just lived there for a little while and was an elementary school teacher.
Oh, you were?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
cool.
For 8 years. And when I lived in Atlanta, I taught elementary school, but I also had this idea of, I'm going to open a yoga studio. And I wasn't even a yoga teacher. I just was like, that would be really fun. And I'd gone to I lived in Wilmington prior to that and gone to places here, but
there's a loud car.
Whoa, what?
That was excessively fast down that road.
Yes. And so anyway, I created this business plan. I met with a realtor. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just like had this idea. And
were you a practicing yogi at the time, or
not really?
Interesting.
I don't know why. I just had this idea. I was like, there's this great spot. It's near a Whole Foods. I just thought, I don't know. It just seemed like a cool thing. So made a business plan, studied up on it, met with the realtor, and then it didn't happen. But I kept that like business plan. I was like, well, I guess that's not meant to happen. Didn't really think more about it. And then fast forward to 2016, my friend Becca, who was one of the co-founders of Terra Soul, she called me one day and was like, hey, there's this really cool building on Castle Street with a tree in front of it. You want to open a yoga studio? And I was like, yeah, but we got to get Alexis to do this with us too. So I called Alexis. I was like, okay, Becca has this great idea. Do you want to open a yoga studio? Sure. So I don't know if sure, but just to make a long story short. So we all met together. We met with the realtor. No business plan needed. Nothing really set in concrete besides like this vision and this desire. And it opened within a month.
That's amazing. I've talked on this podcast so many times about just doing things, right? Like no plan, just do it.
Right.
I think every episode I mention this, and it's because it's sort of like what I'm doing in my own business, in my own life. But I also just think that's like how shit gets done.
Yes.
And I also think that I've experienced something similar, not in the sense of like making a business plan to open a studio and then like years later it comes to fruition.
Yeah.
But I've witnessed a lot in my own experiences how things that I thought about or had planted some seed, 5, 6, 10 years ago, it takes that long to germinate and that long to grow, and then it arrives. And there's this huge space of time when like I didn't even think about it.
And that is the letting go of like, okay, well,
and
you
it's
almost forget about it, but it's almost like, I don't know.
But you don't, right? And the other thing that I mentioned in this podcast, maybe I should just talk about the same thing every episode because I'm always talking about this, is that, our ideas, they're energy, and so like if you put that seed out there, I'm going to start a yoga studio, it will grow,
right?
Whether you want it to or not. But if you don't take action on it at some point, it will grow for somebody else. Right?
That's like in Big Magic.
That's where it came from.
Yes, I love that idea. And it's so true.
I talk about it in every single episode because that idea rocked my world.
Right.
And I witnessed this happen in my own life in a really small way. So I don't know if you know this about me, but probably Dharma Drops listeners know, but I also dance.
Yeah.
And so I perform and do all these things, but I do not do choreography. It's like not my skill set. Maybe a little too vulnerable for me, and I don't know, it's just not my thing. But I like to think about choreography sometimes, right?
Okay.
And if I hear beautiful music, I'm like, oh man, if I did choreography, I would do these things, which is crazy because I should probably just do them. But I had this really interesting idea. It was sort of like, I don't know if you're familiar with like Martha Graham and Lamentations with fabric. You know, anyone listening to this who knows Lamentations will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't, it's like, what are you talking about?
I'll check it out.
Yeah, you should totally check it out. So it's kind of like Lamentations with this stretchy fabric that moves, but much more abstract and involves like getting like wrapped up and bound and all this stuff, and really a take on gender.
Yeah.
So I just thought about it. I think about it every time I heard a particular piece of music, but of course never did anything. And then one day I was watching some dance performances and I was like, God damn it, there it is.
Wow.
The exact same thing that I had thought of. The exact same thing. And I don't know, sure, maybe it's like the seed I put out into the universe, or maybe it's just like this idea that it's running through our culture right now, right? But if you don't do it, someone else will.
Right.
So
I know.
I'm always thinking about this.
Me too. And that's what causes me to like act on things and just, you know, and sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't.
Right.
But I think it's like, it's the coming back later and being like, ooh, you know, do I still want to pursue that? Or is it time for me to like let that go and maybe someone else is going to do it? Or, yeah. So following curiosity, I think is really important because of that.
Yeah, I like that, following curiosity.
Yeah.
Because curiosity suggests a little bit about like, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. Because I feel like some people are like, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do. But curiosity keeps things nice and open and fluid and room for change, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've also found, though, that with curiosity, personally, I love having the freedom of that, but also having a little bit of structure in that helps the curiosity to, like, have something to attach to root to.
Yeah.
You know? And so Terra Soul's been cool because I've been able to we've been able to grow it having, you know, ooh, that'd be cool to have this workshop on, you know, shamanism, or maybe we should have, you know, and so different things have grown out of that. Without too much, like, this is what it has to be. I don't know. So it's been neat to be able to have that idea back when I lived in Atlanta. And then, I mean, I don't even know where that business plan went, that piece of paper or whatever, the file that I did that with. And then years later, after letting go and just kind of learning all the things I needed to learn in order to be in this space, and to look back and be like, wow, I needed all of that. I needed to learn all of those things before I was ready for that.
Because it wouldn't have worked. Right? It didn't work because there wasn't time.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't have worked. I like what you said, too, about, like, finding something, some structure to anchor yourself. I can't say it, anchor yourself to.
Right.
And this isn't it's not a judgment about, like, the yoga community, but one thing I've witnessed a lot in the yoga community is a lot of just, like, swirling, right? And, like, ideas, and then before I can even, like, catch the idea, it's like gone. Like the person's like shifted. They're like doing a new career.
I'm a bit like that too.
Me too.
I'm a Gemini.
I'm a Virgo, but I'm a bit like that too.
Yes.
But I think that's like the really critical part is to have that like ability to ebb and flow, but also to stay rooted to something. Because if not, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So I was looking up yesterday as I was thinking about our conversation. I was like, how can we relate this to a yogic text, you know? And so in the sutras, it talks about that.
Stop.
Yes.
Wait, are you going to talk about the tree?
Ooh, tell me about the tree.
Okay, so it's not the same. Because I was thinking about the sutras.
Yeah.
I was actually reading the sutras this morning, but my favorite story from the sutras is about, I don't remember what type of trees they are. Maybe an oak tree. There's like a flood. And the big, strong oak trees, like, kind of giving a bunch of shit to this, like, little sapling. Like, you're never going to make it. You know, and the flood comes, and of course the oak tree gets knocked down, and the sapling just kind of bends and flows, you know, because it's able to be flexible. Yeah. You know, and so as you were talking, I was thinking about that story in the commentary of the sutras.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, so what are you thinking about in the sutras?
Well, this one can relate to that too. It just talks about how the practice of, or the idea of practice and then detachment. So like you want to practice something, you have a goal, you're going for it, but then also you're not attached to what the outcome of it is going to be, you know? And so you're doing it for the sake of doing it.
That's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I think especially in our culture, that's hard.
To even stay focused on that practice, to be like, you know, okay, I'm just doing this for this day.
So today I was practicing a class on Yoga Glow. It was the first time I've taken a class with Tiffany Cruikshank.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and first it was really hard. I was dying the whole time. I was like, nobody can do that. I can't do that. But she was talking about how we were in standing spinal twist.
Yeah.
And she said, give yourself the first 2 or 3 breaths to figure out your alignment and then just breathe. She was like, don't spend the entire time figuring out the alignment. Don't spend the entire time trying to get as deep as you can to it. Just get into it, get steady, and breathe. And I was like, damn.
I need to write that down.
Me too. I was
like, that's like in life.
That is. And I was like, that's really potent.
Wow.
Because I can spend my entire yoga practice trying to get deeper and deeper and deeper and like bring in more. I have a tendency to lean toward intensity and like make it harder. And I was like, that I never thought about that. Get into the thing, get aligned, get safe.
And then be there.
Let it go, right? Just be there and let it go. It just makes me think of what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that.
Me too.
I'm like, how can that apply to everything?
It does apply to everything.
I know.
Mm-hmm. So I interrupted you. Sorry, go ahead.
No. That was it. And then, yeah, I just think like the being with your breath. So the alignment is the practice, and then the breath is the letting go of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So how can we do that in our daily life?
God, I don't know. If you know, tell me.
I don't know.
Good God, I have no idea.
You know.
Oh, the letting go part's really hard. And I think we're such a goal-oriented culture, too.
Yeah.
Like, we have to arrive somewhere all the time, you know? And, like, I mean, of course, I think it's always a good thing to want to, like, improve and move forward, you know? But there is a time to just stay. Like, you like, between those years between when you were in Atlanta and here, there's this time where we just have to just stay.
Yeah, and learn.
Mm-hmm.
You know? From many different things. So now I'm working on, a couple months ago I worked on trying to have a retreat. Have you led a retreat before?
I've led a study abroad, which is similar, but it's with college students, so it's scarier.
Yeah.
Because you're like, are they all going to come back alive?
Oh, right.
Like, is one going to end up doing a ton of drugs or something, right? But I ended up with 14 college students who were amazing. So amazing. We went to Costa Rica.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. It was a mild nightmare before we left. So 3 days before I was going to meet 14 college students in Costa Rica, the retreat center emailed and was like, we're really sorry. We've had a major flood and we have to cancel your reservation.
And that's letting go.
Okay.
Except.
It was letting go, but through the process of like saying terrible things and be like, fuck that shit.
Right.
Like, I'm going to lose my mind and crying and like all this because I was so stressed out. Like, how are you supposed to figure out how to get 14 people with all their meals included? A space to practice yoga, a place that's safe. It was crazy. And the
What'd
people,
you do?
Well, I sat on my couch and I stared at Erin for like 10 minutes. And then I emailed everyone at UNCW and it was a Friday morning that they emailed me and I was leaving that next Wednesday. So it was actually more like 5 days, but everything was closed on the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't do anything on the weekend,
right.
you know? So I worked day and night and I got it figured out. I found like a boutique hostel with a bar, which is like not what it was supposed to be. And it ended up being amazing. Wow. And some people that work for the university later were like, you handled it really well. I was like, yeah, in front of your face. Yeah. In front of you I did, but behind the scenes I was like losing my mind.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Do you think that it was better than what it would have been?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
And that's the thing, you know, it's like these opportunities of like chaos, because what's beyond that, what's beyond the resistance of that is even better.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It ended up being really amazing, and we all got a lot out of it. I mean, I had to change the entire trip. I mean, even the intention of the trip had to change. The whole thing was different. It was supposed to be a service-based trip. We were going to work at a school. None of that happened, but it ended up being amazing.
Wow.
So tell me about your retreat.
Yeah, so that's kind of the same thing. I was in that boat. Long ago, I was going to lead a retreat to Cuba. That fell through.
Oh my God, it's on my bucket list. I want to go to Cuba so bad.
And I wanted to do it like music, because I love music as much as I love yoga. I love both of them. And so it was going to be like both of those, like interwoven within each day. And it just wasn't the right timing for it. I connected with a lady in California, but it just didn't work out. And then second try, the Spain trip that Alexis and I were going to lead, we were going to do it through a retreat company, and we tried and we did what we knew how to do. We did the best we could do. Also didn't work out. And so, you know, there's this quote that I always say, there's a couple quotes that like I feel like I say a lot in my yoga classes.
I say the same thing in this podcast every other week.
I'm like, I can take a quiz. If you've taken my class before, what quote am I about to say? No, it's the one about, and I don't even know who says it, but it's how the difference between a master and a beginner is the master has failed more than the beginner has tried. You know, and so it's like, not that these retreats falling through have been failures, because I've learned things, but I feel like eventually I'll be leading a retreat to some great place, and the things that I've learned along the way and that I've picked up from these other experiences where they fell through is going to make it that much better. Just like how your retreat, it was like, oh, okay, now what are you going to do? And you know, and it like helped to create something different that you didn't expect. Yeah. So that's another letting go of like, well, okay, I guess we're not going to do this pain retreat.
So I'm listening to an audiobook right now. It's called 1 Million Followers in 30 Days. Ooh. It's about a guy who he's a social media expert, but he did an experiment to see if he could get 1 million followers in 30 days. And he did. Sorry, I'm choking on absolutely nothing in my life. Like all the excitement and prana in this room, I guess. Oh, yeah. But he said, in fact, what I was listening to on the way here, he was saying that the most important experiences for a business is to fail. And that the biggest companies like Facebook, these huge organizations, Google, their method is to fail fast. Try things. If it fails, cool, let it fail and switch it immediately. Whoa. And I was always in this mindset in the world of like business. I'm thinking about business right now, just because we're talking about retreats and stuff like that. And like I'm growing my own, digital business and stuff. But I was always of this mindset, like pick a plan, stick with it, let it unfold. And they're like, make a plan. If it fails, switch it immediately.
Yeah, adjust.
Constantly. Immediately. Right. And they're like, don't give it like 6 more weeks to figure it out. Don't try it again in next year to see if it works. Like, run the test. If it works, do it. If not, change it immediately. Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. What's it called again?
1 Million Followers in 30 Days. Okay. I forget who the author is. Brendan somebody. Okay. Yeah.
Instead of writing it, I'm just going to listen to this podcast and then write it down.
That's the best idea I've ever heard. Yeah. But I listened to the audiobook. It's pretty good. Cool. But I think that's really important information. Like, hey, it doesn't have to be perfect. And when it's not, just let it go. Yeah. Just let it go. He was saying that the biggest companies, they run thousands of campaigns a day. And then the ones that aren't working, they just cancel. And the ones that are, they just keep. Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. It's like a garden in a way.
Oh my God.
Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes like having a garden can teach you certain things, right? So it's like you plant all these seeds. I recently, do you plant or do you garden?
I garden a little bit. Yeah. And I just want to note that in your email to me, when you called yourself a plant mom, that's one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
Thank you.
I was like, she called herself a plant mom.
We'll see.
So good.
Maybe like a plant foster mom.
A plant foster mom.
Maybe they're just here temporarily.
Well, I noticed in your bathroom you had a really beautiful like vase with water and a little plant in there. What is that? Because there's no sunlight in there, right?
I know.
What is that?
I don't know the name of it. But
it's a plant.
Yes, it's a plant. I have several of them. But the ones that I do know the names of. No. So a couple things. So one is I planted these moonflower seeds that I got from a friend, and
wait, what's a moonflower look like?
So a moonflower is this beautiful white flower that opens for one night, and it's a vine, and it's poisonous, but it's gorgeous, and so it's kind of like a morning glory, but it's at night. Oh, and the beautiful thing about it is it's like that one night is that flower's time to shine, and then it's done.
I feel like I'd miss it. This is how my life is. I would plant that fucking moonflower and it would bloom and be magnificent, and I would have fallen asleep on the couch because that's my life. Like, this is a little bit different, but one year for Halloween, Aaron spent forever making this amazing jack-o'-lantern. Yeah. And like, we lit it up the night before Halloween, but we were like all excited to light it up on Halloween, and I fell asleep and forgot. Oh, no. You know what I mean? So I would miss the moonflower. Yes. For
Well, there's
sure.
many. It won't be the only one.
Okay, good.
There's many. You'd be like, oh, that must have bloomed. I'll stay awake tonight for the next one.
It's going to have to bloom before 8 o'clock.
Yeah, seriously. Well, yeah.
So anyways.
Or just wake up early when it's still dark.
Yeah, I guess I wake up pretty early. Okay. My thing right now is waking up to pick my blueberries before the birds get them, because the birds are jerks and they'll eat all of them.
Yeah. So I grew strawberries. The birds ate them, and then I was like, well, I guess I'm just feeding the birds with these.
That's what I told Aaron. I was like, I don't mind sharing.
Yeah.
You know, but like, give me some.
Yeah.
Just a couple. This year we have a ton of blueberries.
Oh, good. Oh, that's so good.
It's exciting. So anyways, your moonflower.
Oh, moonflower. So when I had to plant these seeds and they had to sprout, which that's the part that takes a lot of patience and like, is this really working? And not all of them did, you know, and so that goes with like the idea of the business, or, you know, what you were talking about, if like it doesn't work, get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you'll plant all these seeds and only a couple are going to sprout. And then from there, you have to take these sprouts and replant them. So it's symbolic to, I think, ideas that we have. It's like plant them in fertile soil, water them, take care of them, and then see which ones do.
Yeah.
But don't expect the flower right away.
Or as my boyfriend's mom, Linda, she listens to this sometimes. Hey, Linda, if you're listening.
Linda.
Hi. She's amazing. First of all, let me just say, she studied with Ram Dass in the 60s.
Wait. I am recently like a huge fan of Ram Dass.
Are you?
Yes.
So you should meet Linda. She's amazing. She also has a Buddha garden with like all these crystals in her yard, and she gets pretty wound up sometimes about political stuff.
Yeah.
And she'll go out there and she has a temple bell, and she'll ring her temple bell in the Buddha garden. She'll yell, "Help!" She's Southern. Buddha, we need your help.
Oh, I love her.
She's amazing. And I don't know what I was gonna say. I know what I was gonna say about her.
Yeah.
Her, rather than talking about like this beautiful like fertile soil, she'll say, throw shit at a wall and see what sticks. You know, which is kind of gross, but we can talk about this in 1,000 different ways.
Exactly.
You know,
Right.
What works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm experiencing that right now in my own business as I'm trying to grow things. Some things are like taking off really fast. Some things I'm like, God, could this brick wall be any thicker?
Do you keep going back and checking on them, or are you kind of like, well, they're not really...
Well, I keep going back and checking on them, but I'm still trying to figure out, like, what the next step is.
Yeah.
You know, which I don't know if that's ever going to go away in a business.
Yeah.
You know, what's the next step?
Well,
Who
to quote
knows?
Ram Dass.
This
This is for Linda.
Hey, Linda.
There's I've recently been following him. He has a thing on Netflix too, and East Forest does a recording with him.
I have to listen to this
podcast.
East Forest podcast.
Yes,
so everyone should listen to East Forest podcast after you listen to Dharma Drops.
Yeah. Yes. But anyway, so Ram Dass talks about being comfortable in the silence. You know, so instead of like waiting and like, oh, I'm just waiting and what's next? It's like play with like, right now I'm in the silence of it. Even if there's noise all around you, you know, it's just like the waiting time and playing around with that and letting yourself be in that, because eventually you won't be in that.
So today in that Tiffany Cruikshank yoga class, one of the things that I like the most about it is, and I don't know if she does this all the time because I've only taken this one class with her, but she sort of blocks off her sequence. So it was like sun salutations, warm up, sit in hero's pose, and we sat there for a long time, 3 minutes maybe, quiet, just noticing, standing postures, this whole like strength building part, sit in hero's pose, 3 minutes.
Whoa.
Then this like flowy time, sit, quiet.
I like that.
It was really interesting because then like I started noticing not just things I was feeling in my body, but like when I felt frustrated, I was like, wait a minute, why are you feeling like this? Right. You know, like finding the silence to let all that stuff settle and figure it out. It was really interesting.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it's spoiler alert. I'm probably gonna do that in my class tonight.
Ditto. I was like, yes. Whoever's coming to my class tonight, prepare hero's pose.
It was really awesome. And the other thing too, so I teach with music, but I don't practice with music.
Oh.
Yeah, I like to practice in silence. I can get a little too like off the wall with music personally.
Plus you like dancing.
Right, I'm a dancer and I can get like off the wall, and it even like sometimes gets in maybe even to the ego a little bit, like how crazy can I be? You know, it's like ridiculous. But the other thing, one time I did this whole month of teaching yoga with no music, and a few people complained, which I thought was really interesting. I get it, it's not for everyone, but I do believe if you can't sit in the silence with your yoga practice and your breath, that's your work to do. If you have to have that distraction to make it through an hour or 75 minutes or 10 minutes, if you have to be distracted, it's time for some silence, I think.
Yeah. Then that's my work to do, because if I show up to a class and the teacher's like, we're not going to have music today, I'll stay, but it's
like, I'm not going to like it, goddammit.
But by the end, I like it, you know?
Yeah.
Initially, there's all these like, oh, what? I need the music. And I don't know. I think music is powerful, and it's obviously like a language, and can help you feel a certain way. But wow, yeah. I definitely have attachment to that personally.
Yeah, I love to practice without music.
Wow.
I get really into my practice that way. I just get so distracted with music. That's just me, though.
What are you listening to?
In my yoga practice?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't listened to music in my yoga practice for more than a year. So, yeah. So,
Okay.
unless I take someone's class and they're playing music.
Yeah.
So, if the teacher's playing music, of course, I'll listen to it. But in my own practice, nothing.
Wow.
It's probably been, it might be more than a year now.
Wow.
Year and a half.
I'll try it.
I'm interested to see how it goes. You have to stick with
try
it for a little bit
Yeah.
to see how it changes.
Right.
Because suddenly then I realized, like, oh, I don't breathe very long. I'm like, inhale, exhale, inhale.
Right.
you know,
start to
yeah.
hear that, right.
It's interesting. Girl, you gotta let that music go just for like a week.
All right.
Yeah.
Not in my classes, though.
Yeah.
Guys, don't worry. Not yet. Not yet.
I keep music in my classes because
Yeah.
I do understand it's not for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been teaching, I don't know, I teach live music yoga on
That's
Mondays.
cool. See, now that's a little different to me.
Right.
Because that's like a whole other energy in the room.
I was going to say, I don't know that I could let go of that because I feel like that is like the improvisation or feeling the energy of the room, the musician does, and then the people are moving, and so it's different.
I mean,
when
if
it's
anyone
live.
wants to come to my house and serenade me while I'm practicing, because I practice at home mostly,
Yeah.
feel free.
You're okay with that.
I'm
You
open
don't
with
need
that.
the
Yeah.
silence during that.
And I guess the irony is, too, I sing to my classes. I play the harmonium, and I sing almost every class in Shavasana, you know? So, I mean, I do offer a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
The live music classes are cool.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about my attachment. Like, attachments are interesting to think about because earlier talking about letting go, it's like, well, think about, it's easy to let go of the things that are like, well, I'm just going to let that go. But the things that we love, it's like, can we do that?
Okay, so Tiffany Cruikshank's class today.
Oh.
I mean, her class was so relevant.
Right.
But she mentioned that too. She was like, the postures that we find easy are the ones that we love, of course. And she was like, and those are the ones, sure, we can do them, but those aren't the ones you need to do. The ones you need to do are the ones that you're like, ugh, are we really going to hold this?
Yeah.
Like Revolved Ardha Chandrasana. Ugh. Like, do we really have to stay here for one more breath? I can't stand it. I'm like, this is so hard.
Yeah.
I'm not a twister.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a backbender.
Oh, nice. I'm a hip opener.
God, my hip hurts really bad. I don't know what I did to it. I'm just
Yeah.
getting old. How old are you, Jackie?
30. Oh, gosh. It's weird when you're asked on the
Ah!
spot. No, so I will be turning 37 on Friday.
On Friday, when this podcast goes live.
Yes.
It's a happy birthday episode.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
I know.
That's cool. I'll be 37 in September.
Nice. Yeah, it took me a second to know how old I am.
It says age just doesn't even matter. So going back to letting go and non-attachment, all this stuff. So are there other experiences of this that you want to share?
Well, they're all kind of similar, you know? It's like following these like wild, outlandish things that like you really want to do, and you're like, ooh, this sounds like me. And then, you know, things happen, and you're like, ooh, maybe not right now, you know? One thing that was super cool is supposed to be there today, which is interesting, is the Spirit. Have you heard of Spirit Weavers?
No, what's
So
that?
Spirit Weavers is a gathering in Oregon where
I used to live in Oregon.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I used to live in Portland. Well, I lived in just south of Portland, then I moved north across the border into Washington. But when I lived in Washington, I was actually closer to Portland than when I was south of Portland a little bit.
this is in southern Oregon, so I'm not sure. Cave Junction.
I don't know where that is. Oregon's pretty big.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Wild West out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, this is like a festival where it's a women's gathering, and it's all about sacred ancestral wisdom and crafting and all this like really ancient, rich, beautiful stuff that is of the earth and
That's
involves
cool.
plants, involves just women gathering together to share their knowledge from across the world. And I applied to be a volunteer
Oh, cool.
and got accepted. And I was like, yes. And they put me in the kitchen, which I was like, perfect.
Are you a cook?
I like to cook, so
Cool.
that'll be great, right?
I like to eat, so
it's
this
not-
is going to be a
it's
good
not the one-
friendship.
Yes, exactly. I didn't even apply to be in the kitchen, and then they showed me what I was going to do. I was like, oh, heck yeah. And so I was pumped about it, but did not get a plane ticket. And so I waited and waited and waited, and then like last month I was like, dang, it's coming up in a month.
I
need to
am
get a
the
plane ticket.
master of doing this. And let me tell you,
So I
flying
had
to
to
Oregon.
cancel.
Flying to Oregon is not cheap.
No, and I was like, well, I got a free ticket to this festival, but now I don't have a way to get there.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, what if I drive? No, it's a long drive.
I've driven to Oregon and
Have
back.
you?
It's very long. It's very long. It's days.
Yeah.
And it's very boring. No hate to the parts of the Midwest where there's nothing, but it's boring AF. There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's corn forever.
I could do corn. Well, I can't do corn forever, but I could drive through corn, I feel like, for a little
You
while.
say this now until it's like day 2.5.
I'm
And you're
driving
like,
through corn, I'm
fucking
like,
shit. How much corn do we need?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really expensive to fly to Oregon too sometimes.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, whatever. I'm just going to manifest this ticket. It's going to be like $200 and I'll get there. So then I was like, okay, well, when you get there, you also have to have a rental car or, in my idea, a camper van. so this trip was going to cost like thousands of dollars. And, you know, I just finally had to come to the realization, like, you know what? It's just not the year for me to do this right now, you know? So I had to let go of it. You know, I sent them an email. In my head, I was like, I hope that next year when I reapply to help, they're like, are you sure? But, you know, maybe I'll
be more prepared next time.
More prepared.
Yeah.
Or I'll just buy a ticket to go to the festival and be more prepared ahead of time to be a part of it.
I've been wanting to go to Hanuman Festival.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been, but
Is that in Sedona?
No, I think it's in Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah. Angela, who was on this, she was the first guest on this podcast,
Yeah.
and she's my BFF. She goes every year. Ooh. And she comes back with like so much amazing knowledge about practicing yoga, teaching yoga. I mean, all sorts of stuff. And I really want to go. Mm-hmm. But God, it is like not cheap to be a yogi sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, come on, man. Like,
could you teach at it?
I mean, I would if they'd let me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like there's all these...
We could do a live podcast recording at Hanuman.
Oh, there you go. Putting it out there. Planting that seed.
Hello, Hanuman organizers. Listen. Come on, man.
Right. That's all it takes is reaching out. You never know.
You're right. I should.
Yeah.
See, I'm not going to limit myself over here.
Yeah. They might be looking for you exactly.
Well, if they know what's good for them.
Right. Exactly.
Clearly.
Right.
I mean... So anyway, we were talking about, I don't know what we were talking about.
Yeah.
I lose track of my conversations on this podcast all the time.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
Just like, well, I was talking about Spirit Weavers. I was just saying how like, you know, I applied for it, I really wanted to go, and then I had to let go of it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm currently in the letting go of it. So I don't know what's to come of it. I don't know if, you know, maybe next year I'll learn some way to be a part of it in a different way, or you know, maybe I'll be a presenter there. I don't know, but so that's kind of an experience where I'm still in it, so I don't know the lesson.
Yeah,
you know? It's important, I think, to always be like, what is the lesson here?
Yes.
Buy the plane ticket ahead of time. Is that really the lesson, or is there something deeper that maybe I'm gonna learn because of it? So
I feel like I'm the master of not getting my plane tickets in advance, and it's really a testament to how much I really need to plan things and schedule. Do you know what I mean? I tend to live on the fly, which can be really fun. Mm-hmm. They can also be really stressful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know why I do that to myself.
Yeah. And I'm not usually like that. So it's like almost, it's just strange that I chose to wait. Because I'm usually like early for everything, plan it out, I'm very organized. So we'll see. Maybe it wasn't meant to be, or there's something else that's going to happen this week. I get to be on the podcast.
That's right.
I mean, if I was there, I wouldn't be on this.
That's right. And I've lost track of how many countries are listening now, but the last time I counted, it was 27, and I know there's more.
Whoa.
And Canada and Australia have been bringing it with downloads lately. So
Heck yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty exciting. So who knows? Maybe someone like somewhere else in the world will be like, no, we want you to come to our festival.
Yes. I'm down.
Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. I feel it.
So down.
So what are some other ways that we can think about non-attachment or letting go? So many.
Yeah, so many. I don't know. I mean, you could think of it, obviously in yoga, you could think of it like a posture you're trying to do, or you know, a thing that you're trying to, an inversion you want to do that maybe isn't working in your body. Mm-hmm. But then also off the mat, it can be a conversation that you had with someone or a friendship maybe that you've had that you're like, oh, I'm not sure about this, and just letting things like shed, letting yourself shed things in order to create space.
I like that you use the word shed, because I think something that's really important that I don't often think about or talk about in terms of letting go is it's not immediate.
Sure.
Right? It's not like, boom, now I just let go. I don't care anymore. Right? It's a shedding of one layer, and then it's a shedding of another layer, and then it's a shedding of another layer until you fully let go. And that can be really hard.
Well, and during the shedding is new skin appearing. So that's kind of the cool thing.
Yeah.
It's like as you shed, something new is not taking its place, but is still
developing.
It's still there. It's developing.
Yeah, it's interesting. The relationship part is interesting. I had an old friend. We were super close. And our friendship, for reasons I'm still not fully aware of, kind of fell apart. And that was the first time I really had to think about like letting go of a friendship. Yeah. And it hurt.
Yeah, I'm not good at it.
No, it's hard, but then in retrospect, I think our friendship probably was not amazing. She had a tendency to drink a lot and to had some things going on in her life, and it's probably not what needed to be there. So once you can finally let go, it's easier to see like, oh, actually
we grew apart.
Yeah. And it may not have even been good from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, whatever, a work relationship, like once we can actually let go, I think it's easier to see like the truth of the situation. Because I think the attachment, I don't know, I'm just kind of talking, which is like the story of my life. I just say shit, and then later I'm like, oops. Same. Oops, sorry. But I do think the attachment sometimes is hanging on to the illusion of things, right? We talk about this in yoga all the time, that there's this illusion of truth, illusion of reality, and it's when that illusion starts to lift, it's like we don't like what we see, because we've been putting this like pretty mask on in front of everything.
Like Arya.
Like Aria. Oh my God, we've come full circle. This podcast is done. We have to end. Look, that's the one part of the series where I'm like, I don't know if I get it.
You're like, wait, is this her again?
I was like, and I have to go back and like rewatch it and think about it now in its like entirety over the course of the whole series. Like, what does it mean? But it is true, right? Like taking
the masks that we wear.
Yeah, the masks that we wear. That's right.
Yeah. I think too, it's because part of our attachments is we identify so much with it too. Like we see ourselves in that.
Yeah.
And we, in relationships or in things that we want to accomplish, we're like, oh, but that's me. I identify with that. That's who I hang out with. That's what I, that's the field that I work in, whatever it may be. And then in the shedding, it's like, well, but maybe that was me before, and maybe this is who I'm growing into.
I like my friend Danny. She was on the podcast too.
Danny.
You know Danny?
Yeah, hi, Danny.
Hey, Danny. She's awesome. And she often talks about reinventing yourself. And I think that's part of it. Like you have to let go of who you are to reinvent yourself into something else. Like I've experienced this a lot in the last few years because I was a full-time English instructor at UNCW. Oh. I taught English. I don't know how long I was full-time, 6 years, 7 years, but I still teach part-time, but I'm headed into my 12th year of teaching English. But to let go of that role and that part of my life and how I identify.
Were you able to do that fully?
I still haven't completely because I'm still teaching, but it's not because I don't like it. Right. It's just like things in life needed to change.
Yes.
And I mean, the salary was not working out. You know what I mean? It just wasn't. I couldn't survive like that. If I can make equal income teaching yoga, I mean, hello.
Right.
But it was, I mentioned this the other day to someone I know who is, her last day at UNCW is, I think, like next week or something. She's transferring to a different university. Yeah. But we were saying how that process of letting go of that job, it's both deeply painful and incredibly liberating. Yes. And I think that's really unique to the human experience to feel both at the same time. I don't know. I'm not any other creature. I don't know what they experience. But humans are really interesting that like you can do something that you know is right. You can let go of a job that you know you have to let go of and be totally heartbroken and completely free.
Right.
That's crazy. It feels crazy.
Right.
And to be in that space feels a little crazy. It does for me.
You're like, wait, what did I just
I felt like a person like oscillating between like two extremes, until I found that balance in the middle. Or finding that balance in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
It's thrilling though, because it's like there's no limit to that. And you're like, okay, I just did that.
Yeah.
So each time I do that, it's going to become a little easier because I know that what's beyond that is...
Yes.
really great.
And I think that's how letting go is. It gets a little easier every single time.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I haven't experienced anything so major in my life in the last few years that I was like, I can't let go of this.
Right.
I did practice my letting go. I got really pissed on vacation because I have a bag, like a little backpack that I love.
Yeah.
And my lip balm leaked in it and it got all over it and like ruined the front of it. And I like really love this bag. Aaron bought it for me. And it's like such a small thing. Like people were talking about like jobs and like stuff like that.
No,
but it's
but
like a
even
small
a
thing.
little-
I loved it. And
Yes.
I was like, I felt like I could cry because I like loved that bag so much. And I was like, you're just going to have to let it go.
Yes.
You know? And I was
You're
like, I don't
here's
want
a
to.
concrete example.
I don't want to
Yes.
let that go. I really
And
loved
now
it.
a better bag will come in its place.
Maybe. I hope. I don't know. I love that bag.
Oh.
So for those of you out there with like deep life problems, like letting go of loved ones and jobs, this is real problems. My purse.
Yeah.
God.
Moral of the
My
story.
life is so hard.
Oh, God.
It's so hard recording podcasts and ruining your purses. If only the third world understood.
my
I hate that
gosh.
phrase. I shouldn't say third world. Unindustrialized nations.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so is there anything else that we need to know?
I have all these notes here of things, but I feel like our conversation just like encompassed so much.
I know. It sounds easy, like, oh, I'm going to talk about letting go.
Yeah.
It sounds easy, right? And it's kind of easy to talk about, but the practice is really
It's just
fucking
the
hard.
practice, right? Like I have no advice on the practice of it, except that I've practiced it,
So I'm here to tell you, just do it.
and I'm doing it. You know.
Well, that is the practice. You just have to make the decision,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm going to make the decision right now. For me, sometimes it has to be really small. Like, I'll go back to my purse. I was like, all right, rather than being mad, I'm just going to take a big breath,
Yeah.
you know? And like, it really is. It doesn't have to be a huge moment. I really like what we were talking about, the shedding. Just let it be like a small process of letting go.
Yeah.
And another process letting go.
Right.
And then new things will happen.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
They have to, right?
For
They
sure.
have to.
For sure. And it's a way of creating space, and you know, even if it's something like a purse or like a art project that you start and you're like, no, I'm not gonna keep working on this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like just making that decision. Oh, this isn't working, so maybe leave it for later, or maybe try something in a new way.
Yeah, totally. I feel like my own business was a little bit like this. I started doing things, you know, for my business a few years ago, and then I left it. I did something else for a while, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But then it was all sitting there waiting for me, and then I came back to it with these fresh eyes. And I was like,
Yes.
oh, shoot, this is how it can be done.
Yes. And that's such a nice thing to have a fresh perspective on it, because you've learned something in the process that you can bring to it that maybe you didn't have before.
Yeah, totally. I was just thinking about how, like, we think of letting go as this, like, sort of sense of forever, right? But I don't know if time really works like that.
Ooh.
You know,
Yeah.
it's time. I don't know. I mean, I'm not Father Time over here. I have no idea what's happening. But my sense is that it's not linear, right? And so to let go doesn't mean it's in the past and we're never going to see it or feel it again. It just means we're going to circle around to these things in new ways.
Yes.
I hope so. I hope I circle back to a new bag that I love.
Yeah.
That's all I care about right now is my goddamn bag. Okay, so any last things that you feel like we should share before we get into the life and whatever portion of this podcast?
Ooh, no, I don't know.
Okay, that's it. That's all we have to do.
Yeah.
So I always like to end the podcast episodes with conversations about whatever, which is kind of how we started.
Yeah.
But are there any things or I can't talk. Is there anything in your life right now that we need to like check out? Like any books, any TV shows, any movies, anything awesome, like can be yoga, non-yoga related, because I think it's really important. We have all these conversations about yoga and letting go and the sutras, but there's this big world around us of like interesting things.
Yes.
I don't know about you. I can get really wrapped up in the yoga part and it almost becomes like obsessive.
Yeah.
So it's important for me to branch out and be like, oh, I really like this TV show.
Sure.
You know, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So what's happening that we need to be checking out?
So one book that I've really been loving is, or actually author, because all of her books are great. Have you heard of Pixie Lighthorse?
No, but I'm going to need that name.
So I love the name.
Why is my name not Pixie Lighthorse? Are you kidding me? Sandra and John Warfield, fucking named me Rebecca Jane Warfield. Why? I want Pixie Lighthorse.
I know.
Okay, tell me about
Yeah,
Pixie.
so she has these books. One of them is Prayers of Honoring Voice.
No, I
and
haven't heard of that.
The words that she writes with are so enchanting that you almost feel, I don't know, you feel like it's something that you meant to say. You know, it's like, I want to say it in that way because I feel it deep within my soul. It's not, it's really a prayer to yourself. It's like a remembering. And so her books are just really great.
What's the book called?
Prayers of Honoring Voice.
Prayers of Honoring Voice.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah.
Pixie Lighthorse.
Pixie Lighthorse. My friend Kim knows Pixie in some way, so yeah.
That's really cool.
Another thing that I can't wait to check out, so maybe next time if I ever get to be on the podcast again,
you can be on the podcast anytime you want.
About this is the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors in New York. Have you heard about
No.
So Alex Gray and his wife have this space where they do a thing called Art Church, and they have artists come and they talk about just a lot of expanded thinking sort of ways.
I love stuff like that.
That is something that every full moon they have a gathering where they talk about different modalities of really interesting cosmic, like sacred geometry sort of things. And so I'm excited to learn more about that. I'm going to go visit her sometime in the next couple of full moons to go explore that.
That's really cool. Get your plane ticket.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I might drive.
Okay.
Well, no. Plane ticket to New York is easy though.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Just make the plan.
Thank you. Thank you. Check. The lesson has been learned. Thank you. I needed you to say that.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So that's really interesting about the sacred geometry. So the other day I had a weird experience in meditation, and I don't get a lot of these like out there experiences. I know some people have like out of body experiences and they like witness all this like, I don't know, all this like universal stuff. I don't get that. Usually it's me just trying not to be an asshole in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like, the work has been done if that happens, right? But the other day I actually had a really weird experience in meditation where I was like, I think I just saw some geometry. It was really weird.
Do you remember what shape or what thing it was?
It was like a triangle.
Ooh.
And I don't know, maybe it's just because like, I
Was
don't
it
know.
a color? I just took a workshop, so I'm like, ooh, what do I
It was a
remember?
chakra meditation. Now I can't remember. So I always get skeptical. This is like something I battle with all the time, skepticism versus like truth, you know. In fact, when Norma came to Long Wave Yoga and did her workshop, I never even said a word to her, like, because I was like, she's just amazing. I can't talk to her. She's too amazing.
Right.
And I was like sitting in the back and she looked right at me. I must have some facial expression. She was like, for those of you who are skeptical, and I was like, it's not shit. And she looked right at me and like kind of waved and I was like, hey.
Oh no.
I was like,
You're like,
hey.
and she's a mind reader.
Yeah, I mean, hi, it's me. So I don't know, like, because it took me out of the experience because I like saw it and then it was done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I like, you're not coming back to that.
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, is it because like I just got this new necklace and it has the like chakra geometry on it, or is it because like I've seen these things before, or was it real? I don't know. I'll never know.
That's the same of like interpreting dreams, you know?
I had the weirdest fucking dreams lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, like really vivid. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's like, because sometimes you're like, well, was it this because I saw this on TV and I did this that day, or is there a deeper meaning to it, you know? And it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll never know.
Yeah.
But the geometry is really interesting.
Yeah.
But there's all this evidence too that like all these ancient yogis and people who use plant medicine, like DMT or whatever. What's that stuff that everyone is doing in
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca, yeah. Like they come back with these like exact same images.
Right.
Which is really freaky.
Yeah. I know.
If I wasn't afraid of that stuff, I'd do it. But I'm too scared. So I'm just going to have to go ahead and just pretend.
Trust their, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to trust your
Trust what they
experiences.
bring back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these, what's the place in New York called again?
It's called the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors.
Chapel of
which I
Sacred
love
Mirrors.
That name.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Any TV shows, movies that you're into?
Oh yeah. So coming up on Wednesday is our two shows.
I feel like you're advertising. So coming up.
So coming up on Wednesday, two shows that I love: *Handmaid's Tale*.
Okay, I've talked about *Handmaid's Tale* before.
Okay.
It freaks me out. I had to stop watching after the first season because I was like, I'm freaking out, man. But I've read the book.
Oh, well then you know all of it.
It's very good.
Okay, good.
Yes, so Handmaid's Tale.
And Black Mirror is coming out again.
Oh shit, I love Black Mirror. There's that one episode with the robot dogs. Do you know what I'm talking about? It has terrified me for the rest of my life. And there's these new little, what are they called? Lawnmowers that are like robots. Have you seen them?
Oh no.
Oh god, they're weird. They're these like little things, and they have like headlights that look like eyes. And they like, I don't know how it works exactly, but somehow you mark off your yard so it knows not to go past these boundaries. Oh. And it cuts your grass. It's like a little robot. And every time I see one, I'm like, that thing is going to shoot me one day.
Yes.
It's going to chase me and kill me.
Oh no.
It freaks me out. That is a really good show, but it freaks me out. And the season 1, episode 1 has stuck with me for life.
Wait, which one is that?
That's the one where they ask the politician to have sex with the pig.
Yeah.
That one's really bad.
They're all just like little mini movies that are just so like, what?
And they're like so close to reality.
Right.
But just far enough to be like, nah, that won't happen. But just close enough to be afraid of the little lawnmower guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's really crazy.
Yeah, so I can't wait for that. Did you watch the one where you had to like create your own ending or choose your own adventure?
Oh yeah, what was it had a weird,
that was called.
I forget what it was called. I can never remember anything when we're talking about it.
No.
It had a weird name. I did, but then eventually with time I was like, I can't do this anymore.
I have a friend who, hi Tamara.
Hi.
She'll listen. She did it for hours because she wanted to watch every option.
I couldn't. I can't do that. Bandersnatch. That's what it's called. Bandersnatch. Yeah.
I was done. I was like, okay. I got to the end. I was like, okay.
I think I did a couple extra ones, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. I was like, my remote battery's dying.
Yeah. I don't know if I've watched anything recently.
Yeah.
I have lately been telling everyone my favorite movie is Baywatch. I don't care what anybody says.
Baywatch is a movie?
With The Rock.
Oh.
I don't care what anyone says. It's a good movie.
Whoa.
It's ridiculous. It's so
I didn't even
stupid.
know it was a movie.
Aaron and I may have talked about this before. I have no idea. But Aaron and I turned it on as a joke. We were like, this has got to be the dumbest thing ever. And then I watched it twice.
Wait. Okay.
It's really stupid.
Like, should I ask about the plot? I don't know.
It's just Baywatch, man. It's
Okay.
like The Rock. I mean, who doesn't like The Rock?
Yeah, true.
I mean, there's some people out there are just so charismatic, you can't help but like them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to change your life. Don't get me wrong. But it's good entertainment for 2 hours.
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I don't think I've watched anything else recently because I've been on vacation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so I wasn't watching any
That's a
TV,
good
which is
feeling.
actually really nice.
Oh my god, I know. There's moments where I'm like, let's just give away our TV. We don't have to. We can be the kind of people that don't have one, but I have to finish Game of Thrones first.
You have to finish Game of Thrones first. And the other thing is too, now it's so easy to watch TV. I just open up my laptop. You know,
right.
I mean,
I find a new way.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's just never going away.
Plus, there's good there's good things to watch, and
there's really good stuff out there. Cool. You said there's something by Ram Dass on Netflix, right?
Yeah, he has a new documentary. I didn't watch the whole thing yet, but I think it's a short documentary. Yeah.
There's a documentary I did watch with Aaron's parents because they're really into like the metaphysical and like time and different dimensions and stuff like that. And there's one called Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds on Netflix. It's pretty like up in the head for a little bit. You got to watch it a few times. You know, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? But it's pretty darn interesting.
I'll have to check it out.
Okay. Anything else before we part ways?
No, thank you so much.
Yeah, this is super fun.
It was.
So if people want to get a hold of you or learn more about you, how can they find you?
Well, you can come to Terra Soul.
Yeah.
Or
if you're in Wilmington, you can come to Terra Soul.
If you're in Wilmington, come to Terra Soul. Or find me on Instagram, Jackie DeConti. I think there might be an underscore or a dot between my names. I'm not sure. Or
they'll be in the show notes. Don't worry about it. I'll put them in there. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So this is it. If you have questions, you know where to find me. You can go to RebeccaWarfield.com and you can find me on Instagram at Rebecca Warfield Yoga and at Dharma Drops Podcast. And until we meet again, ciao.
Ciao.
Whoa there, Nelly. Before you get out of here, let me just tell you a couple of things. One, as always, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to Dharma Drops Podcast on whatever app you're listening to it on. I've said a million times, and I'll continue to say a million times, that Dharma Drops really cannot be a success without your support. And so I really appreciate all the liking, sharing, rating, reviewing, subscribing, and all the other things that you do to share this podcast with your circle. It really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Secondly, if you're not following me on Instagram, be sure to head over to @RebeccaWarfield and @Dharma Drops podcast to follow, because there's lots of cool things happening. I've been doing a lot of fun stuff lately with giveaways and free stuff, and who doesn't like a little bit of free shit? So go over to Instagram @RebeccaWarfield and @Dharma Drops podcast. And last but not least, I'm really excited that the Summer Solstice Cleanse ebook is officially out. I worked really hard on it and I'm really proud of it, and I know you're going to love it. This ebook is 30 pages of information, inspiration, and more about how to stay balanced for summer, including a 5-day cleanse, 1 day for prep, 3 days of a diet reset through Ayurvedic practices, and then a day of reintroduction, or what I call the reawakening into the world. And the best part is, if that's not enough, it also includes 3 streamable 1-hour yoga classes, a water element vinyasa, a cooling, gentle, and restorative, and a side opening vinyasa. And it is available on Amazon. So there's 2 ways to get it, really. One, you can head over to Amazon and you can search Rebecca Warfield, and bada bing, bada boom, there it is. I'm really excited about that. Or if you don't have a Kindle and you want to get it sent to your email, you can head over to RebeccaWarfield.com and purchase the ebook there. It is at the new low price of $9.99. Thanks, Amazon, for setting the price for me. It's even better for you this way because you get so much for $9.99. A 30-plus page ebook, 3 yoga classes, cleanse instructions, self-care rituals, journaling exercises, self-care cheat sheets. Oh my God, I almost said a shit sheet. That is not what I wanted to say. A cheat sheet. And then some information about how to keep cool and balanced all summer long through your yoga practice. So while I'm over here getting even more and more tongue-tied, you head over to RebeccaWarfield.com or Amazon, and you can search Rebecca Warfield, and you can get the book on your Kindle or in your email. Until we meet again next time, bye. I probably shouldn't say bye like that. I'm gonna be 37 this year. Goodbye.